G'day everyone, Uncle Jojo here. Great to see you all again. Today we're just going to touch base on different materials, cladding materials of a residential home, and the ability to restrict fire as much as they can. Recently we sat a meeting with the ASBC, the Australian Society of Building Consultants, and they brought in a fire engineer to show the different types of cladding systems on the outside of residential homes, units, apartments, high rises, and the ability to restrict the flow of fire from one room to another, or from the external facade to the internal facade. What I'm going to do is show you three different types of cladding systems today that are on a residential home, and usual residential home in Victoria or New South Wales and Brisbane, Queensland, and what we can do differently to take into consideration those things into the future when we design a home, or if you yourself are going to reclad the building with something different. So step with me and I'll show you three different things and the positives and negatives. Here we've got a original, and this is red cedar all the way through. The red cedar being cedar, is a very nice timber. It doesn't really have too much restriction of fire as such. Timber being timber will always catch fire, yet because it's an old timber, it's quite dense and it helps repel fire for as long as possible. It's like old couches and old furniture that are made out of wool. They restrict fire quite well. The new couches and stuff are usually petroleum based products or stuffings, and they go up very, very quickly. Same as our mattresses and our beds. You better watch that one as well. I digress. Next one that we look at here is cement sheet weatherboards. Cement sheet can be used in many aspects. This whole wall's been replaced with cement sheet. It's north facing. We've changed it to cement sheet weatherboards for a number of reasons. One being it's got a lot more thermal mass than timber weatherboards, so it blocks the northern hot summer sun. It can also help restrict the amount of fire that comes through from one wall to another wall with cement sheet. You can also use there's a CSR product, I think it's called Skyon, which is compressed sheet. So it's compressed cement sheet. Again, being cement sheet, it restricts the amount of fire transfer from one room to another, and it can also reduce the amount of heat that goes from one room to the other for a good length of time. Next thing that we'll look at is down here is a double brick wall. Double brick wall speaks for itself. We use brick walls. When I was overseas over in Europe, we used brick walls everywhere to partition between apartments, houses, even inside houses. When I was in England, we were building in England, we used a lot of Besser block to partition between bedrooms. And what it did was it created box sections, so if there was a fire in one room it wouldn't spread too far. I can touch more on base on this, but that actually reaches back to about the 17th century. In 1665 there were the Great Fires, 1665 or 1666 there was the Great Fires of London. Due to the Great Fires of London, fire prevention throughout Europe has been considered with every part of the building, town planning and design functionality of a home and of a block of homes, a block of houses, an apartment block and all of that. So there's a lot of thought process put into Europe for fire restriction. There's not as much put into Australia because we're a lot further apart. A lot more things in Australia are built a lot more further apart. Actually, I can go up to Sydney if I have a chance. I'll go up to Sydney and I'll show you through the back streets and the back alleyways of the Rocks up in Sydney. The very first colonial housing in Australia up in Sydney, they took into consideration the Great Fires of London, and they've actually got petitions between a lot of their homes and the way that they've got fire breaks in the alleyways and things. But I digress. Take into consideration your external cladding. Bricks are obviously one of the best, Besser blocks, all that kind of jazz. Cement sheet is also a really good cladding system, restricts a lot of the heat transfer. It also has a lot more thermal mass, a really good system. Whether you do weatherboards, whether you do Skyon cladding, whether you do just straight here, if you have a look, we've got just straight on compressed sheet. That's 12 mil all the way around. That looks pretty good as well. That works well. 3 different types of cladding systems: brick, cement sheet weatherboard or cement sheet, and original timber cladding. You can go, there's millions of others. Polystyrene's one to really look out for if you're doing a second story extension. A lot of people do polystyrene for second stories, but they don't put any cement sheet between the polystyrene and the house frame. House frame being timber. Polystyrene is a petroleum-based product and can go up really quickly. You have to watch out for these. Please be careful when you're building your house and think about the design as you go about it. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions or queries about anything else, flick them over. Until then, stay unreal, banana peel.